Form 56-F. Notice concerning fiduciary relationship of a financial institution. As you might be aware, there's another similar looking form, IRS Form 56, that serves to identify and recognize to the IRS a fiduciary relationship with the taxpayer. Form 56F specifically has to do with financial institutions, and so these fiduciary relationships usually are accompanied by either a court order and some sort of bankruptcy proceedings, or usually with the oversight of a federal or state regulatory authority. So there are a lot of Internal Revenue Code references. We go into a little bit more depth about that in our article, which you can find on teachmepersonalfinance.com. So we'll go through this tax form. We'll cover lightly some of the background information, but for a deeper dive, I'll refer to the article itself. So there are 4 parts to this tax form. You may or may not have to complete all 4 of those parts, but it depends on exactly what you're trying to do. So in part 1, you're identifying several parties, identifying the person that's being appointed, as well as the financial institution that you're recognizing the fiduciary relationship for. And then if the financial institute is part of a consolidated group, or like a control group that files a consolidated return, then you would need to put additional information regarding the parent company. In part 2, you're simply citing what the order is, whether it's an appointment of a conservator, a receiver, replacement, some sort of order of insolvency, or another fiduciary relationship. Part 3, you'll be informing the IRS of what tax notices that you need to be involved with as the fiduciary. And then part 4, you would fill this out if you're revoking or terminating a previously established fiduciary relationship. So let's go up to the top. In this situation, our hero, John Doe, owns a company that does this sort of thing. We call it the Doe Management Company, and they're stepping in to act as a conservator for Acme Enterprises, which is a financial institution. So in line 1, we'll put in the name of the institution, or as shown on the income tax return, followed by the employer identification number, at street address, followed by the city, state, and zip code, and a telephone number. So basic information regarding the financial institution that we're stepping in. In line 6, we'll check either whether it's a bank or a thrift. There are slightly different tax laws or banking laws that apply to each. It's easier to think of a thrift as kind of a consumer-oriented financial institution, whereas banks traditionally are pretty heavy on the business lending side. Thrifts used to be a lot more popular. If you remember the movie It's a Wonderful Life, the central character actually worked at a thrift. So, but because of the deregulation of the banking industry in the past 30 to 40 years, thrifts and savings and loans, as you might have heard of, have kind of dwindled in size. So most likely it's going to be a bank. In line 7, you're going to check the box if the financial institution is insolvent. And then in line 8, you're going to enter the ending date of the tax year. So for intents and purposes, we'll just say that they file a calendar year tax return. In lines 9 through 13, now you're entering information on behalf of the fiduciary. So we'll start with the name of the company, Doe Management Company. The contact person is John Doe, his address. city, state, and zip code, followed by the telephone number for the contact person. Now, this is the contact person is going to be the person that receives all the IRS correspondence, notices, and updates and things of that nature. So it's important to make sure that the right person is named on this form. Then you're going to check in box 14 whether or not the fiduciary is a receiver or a conservator. So generally speaking, the FDIC gives pretty broad latitude to conservators in order to manage a financial institution's day-to-day operations to keep it solvent. A receiver has the additional authority, if required, to liquidate assets within within that financial institution in order to pay debts. So generally speaking, a receiver is going to be charged with properly liquidating, whereas a conservator might be taking over and managing the financial institution until it either recovers or they can get long-term leadership in to take over. You'll check the box in box 15 if this was a member of a consolidated return parent group filing a consolidated return, in which case you would complete lines 16 through 21. We'll not check this box. We'll go forward as if this was just a single institution, not part of a group. However, in boxes 20 and 21, you would check if a copy had been sent to the common parent according to federal law, and then you would enter the tax years for which the financial institution was a part of that consolidated group. So fairly straightforward. In part 2, you'll simply check the appropriate box based on your expected role, your appointed role most likely, and then be sure to attach a copy of the applicable orders to this form. In part 3, there's a line stating that all notices, written communications regarding income, employment, and excise taxes will be addressed to the fiduciary. Indicate below if other notices and written communications should be addressed to the fiduciary as well. So include the type of tax, tax periods or year involved. So you could put income tax for 2022 to 2023, even though, if this is the date of filing, we've already kind of covered some of that, but just to make sure that you get everything that's required for your involvement. Part 4, you would simply check the appropriate box if there's a certificate of dissolution or termination, if there's a court order revoking the fiduciary authority, or if there's other evidence, then you would enter that into part 4 and again attach a copy of that documentation. And then at the bottom, sworn signature, title, and date for the fiduciary. So this is a fairly straightforward form. This is not a very common form for most taxpayers, but as I previously mentioned, if you want a deeper dive, please check out our article. Simply go to teachmepersonalfinance.com, type in IRS form 56-F in the search bar, and you should see our article. If you like our articles, please check out our website and subscribe to our newsletter. If you like our YouTube videos, please feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And as always, if you have questions or comments, please post them in the comments section. Thank you.